All right, today's math lesson is 11.5 on length, height, and weight. Workbook pages 673 to 678. Make sure that you have your workbook pages ready to go, and we'll get started.
Hi there! Roberto and I have been watching the petting zoo workers all week. There's going to be something new at the petting zoo. Everyone is excited about it. Do you want to see what it's going to be? I'll give you a clue. People will sit there. Click the barrel where Roberto is sitting to find out. The workers are ordering new benches. They're going to look great.
Tom and Kim want to measure their books in different ways. How can they measure them? The dotted lines show how to measure the length and height of the book. This line shows how to measure the length of the book. How would we describe this line if we traced our finger over it? Click the line to find out. It goes from side to side. This line shows how to measure the height of the book. How would we describe this line if we traced our finger over it? Click the line to find out. It goes from bottom to top. Let's think of another way to measure the book. By weight, a book might be heavy or light. This is a bottle of school glue. These lines can be used to measure the bottle of glue. Select the line that shows how to measure the length of the bottle of glue. Good job! The red line shows the length of the bottle of glue. It goes from side to side. Now select the line that shows how to measure the height of the bottle of glue. Right, the blue line shows the height of the bottle of glue. It goes from bottom to top. Is there another way to measure the bottle of glue? Select the green check for yes or the red X for no. That's right. Another way to measure the bottle of glue is by its weight. The weight tells how heavy the object is. Now let's practice with the personal math trainer.
All right, class, you should be here on page 673, looking at the same thing that you see on the screen. And on this page, we're going to compare length and height. And what we're going to do is, first I want you to take your finger and trace along the line that shows the height of the cat. Remember, the height is when we talk about how tall something is. When we say from the top to the bottom is what we use to describe height. So take your finger and trace along the line that shows the height. Now I want you to take your finger and trace along the line that shows the length. That goes across the bottom of the cat. Remember that length talks about how long something is or how short something is. After you're done tracing your finger over there, you can take a crayon or your pencil and trace those lines also. When you're done, turn to the next page. Here on page 674, what we're going to do is use blue and red crayons to mark the measures on these objects. The first thing that I want you to do is take out your red crayon, and we're going to use red to measure the length of the roll of tape in number 1. Okay, now remember, measuring length means measuring how long something is or how short something is. All right, so take your red crayon and measure along the bottom of the tape to measure how long it is, to measure the length. Now you're going to use your blue crayon to measure on the other line on the side going up and down on the tape, because that is what measures the height, how tall the tape is. Okay, now for number 2, I want you to do the same thing. You're going to use the red to trace the line along the bottom, which is the length. It measures how long the glue bottle is. And then the blue line you'll trace along the side from top to bottom to measure how tall the glue bottle is. Now let's compare the weight. Which do you think is heavier? Do you think that the glue bottle is heavier or that the roll of tape is heavier? I think so too. What about lighter? Which one do you think is lighter? Yeah, I think you're right too. All right, once you've done tracing those blue and red lines, go ahead to the next page and we'll get started there. Here we are on page 675. And before we start tracing length and height, I want to talk a little bit about weight. On this page, let's compare some of those objects that we see there. Heavier and lighter. I think that the backpack is heavier than the lunchbox, and the crayons are lighter than the backpack. What do you think? I also think that the juice box is lighter than the lunchbox, and the juice box is also lighter than the backpack. The crayons are lighter than the backpack, and they're also probably lighter than the lunchbox as long as it's empty. So remember, when we talk about weight and comparing weight, we use words like lighter and heavier. All right, on this page, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to trace the lines that show how to measure the length of each object using a red crayon. And then you're going to trace the line that shows how to measure the height of each object using a blue crayon. If you forget, just look to the right of your screen. The word length is written in red and the word height is written in blue. When you're finished, go to the next page and we'll get started there. Okay, here on page 676, what we're going to do is you're going to show me what you know about measuring length and measuring height. If you look at the picture that I put there for you, we have someone measuring with a pencil. They're comparing the height of the tree to the pencil, or they're comparing the height of the girl to the tree. And the next picture where the pencil's laying sideways, they're comparing the length. They're comparing the length of distance that the girl is away from the tree. Okay, so remember when we compare height, we go up and down. We're talking about how tall something is. And when we compare length, we're talking about the distance, how long something is, how far away something is. All right, so think about that and write one object in there and show me one side where you measure the height with your red crayon and the other side where you measure your width with your blue crayon. When you're finished, go ahead to the next page. All right, now we're all on page 677. And for this page, we are going to use red to trace the length of each of the items on the page. and we're going to use blue to trace the height. Just like we've done on the other ones, I want you to use your red crayon to trace the line that shows how long each item is. And then I want you to use your blue crayon to trace the line that shows the height of each item. Once you're finished with those four, go ahead to the next page. All right, here we're on our last page of math for today, page 678. And look up at number 1. Again, I hope you still have your blue and your red crayons out because we are going to use our blue crayon to trace the height of the crayon box. Use your blue crayon to trace the line that shows the height of the crayon box. Then I want you to use your red crayon. All right, here we're on our last page of math for today, page 678. And look up at number 1. Again, I hope you still have your blue and your red crayons out because we are going to use our blue crayon to trace the height of the crayon box. Use your blue crayon to trace the line that shows the height of the crayon box. Then I want you to use your red crayon to trace the line that shows the length of the crayon box. Okay,